everyone. Welcome to our Tech Insider update for February 2022. Appreciate everybody who's attending. Those who've attended this many times, welcome, and those who are new, we're glad you're here with us.
So we have a lot of updates on the Microsoft Teams front. My apologies for a lot of these bullets, but I'll speak to these briefly, provide an update. All of the updates that I'm sharing should be released into your tenant and or will be in the very near future. I'm not talking Microsoft's near future as is 6 months or 12 months or whatever. I'm talking this month or next month. So let's go over first Microsoft Teams and the updates around meetings themselves. So we're getting the functionality around raising of hands. Before we had that, but you had no idea who raised their hand first, second, or third. So we're going to get notification in the chat or the participants bar showing the order by which people have raised their hands. Around meeting recording, we can actually have speed playbacks at a higher speed. Transcripts, those recordings are now being indexed. And then we can also set up auto recording and auto expiration of recorded meetings. This is handy for a lot of organizations that we've auto recorded a bunch of things and now it's kind of getting unwieldy in regards to how much recordings we have. There's integrations now available for Operator Connect conferencing tools. I don't have the specifics of what vendors, but the capability of working with an operating conferencing solution is now available to us. And the most important update, everyone get your pins out. You can unmute yourself using your keyboard shortcut using control space. That can we just end the webinar now, right? I think that's the most profound thing. Actually, I think it's handy, so I use it all the time. All right, custom backgrounds are coming to the web. Music mode, so Teams' ability to actually recognize that music is being played and it auto adjusting for high fidelity. You can switch the mirror of your webcam in your view to be mirrored versus not mirrored. And then when we set up webinars like this webinar today, we can now have a somewhat vanity URL at teams.registration.yourdomain or your Microsoft 365 domain.com. And then the co-organizer meeting role is now also available. And now the co-organizer does not have the exact functionality as the organizer, but there's a lot of shared features that are now available. All right. Now, other updates around Teams. So around calling, I mentioned this already, but obviously the Operator Connect conferencing, walkie-talkie for iOS is available. If you haven't played with walkie-talkie for Android, it's kind of fun. Teams Phone has some updates around 911. Transcripts for one-on-one phone calls is now available, as well as some updates around VoIP and call history. Then if we go into Teams chat and collaboration, the ability for us to provide alt text around images that we actually share within the Teams environment. Before we had the ability to pin chats, but it was like a chat. And then once you pinned, it would replace the other one. Now you can pin multiple chats, not just on a one-on-one chat perspective, but also posts within an actual given team. Then updates to SharePoint folders are now being reflected within the Microsoft Teams interface. So when you're on the Files tab and you end up renaming a document library or you rename a subfolder, it'll actually be reflected within the Teams breadcrumb document library names. So kind of handy for those of us that have renamed the standard documents library to like Teams chat or something else. Okay. And then a quick update on the application integrations, the approvals or approval app within Teams. If you haven't looked into it, look into it. It's actually part of your Teams subscription, and you can actually manage all the Power Automate approvals that have come to you. That now allows you to actually assign approvals to a 365 group and not just an individual now. So the pretty awesome update from Microsoft Teams there. Okay, moving on. Devices. There's a bunch here. So hot desking on Teams displays. So this is not for all Teams devices, right? So you have to like do your own little research here. But the main thing is Teams devices are now rolling out with Cortana integrations. the hot desking, aka like a dropping into a conference room and just meeting right away. Split video layouts are now coming to Teams devices, so then that way you can have multiple displays in the room, one for presenting and the other one for the participants. And then switching between those multiple video cameras. And then a new layout is rolling out called Front Row. It's in preview, and that will be coming to Microsoft Teams rooms as well. Okay. All right, we're almost through Teams. And then security and compliance, the key things here, those that have service hubs, that's now a managed device in the Teams admin center. There's updates to the Teams admin center, a bunch of adjustments. I mentioned this kind of already. Teams recordings, automatic expiration is now part of there, as well as configurations around global notifications within Teams, which was a major request from a lot of our clients. Now we can actually configure some of the global notifications across the board for your entire tenant. And that is all. Oh, government. We have to play nice to the GCC cloud. So you guys are finally getting breakout rooms, custom backgrounds on the web, and then sensitivity label support in the Teams admin center is coming to GCC tenants. Okay. All right, let's do some Yammer updates. Just a few minor ones, nothing too serious here. So there's updates to the profile page. Creators have the ability to edit topics inline, as well as expiration auto renewal for Microsoft 365 groups, and then reminder emails around staying connected to your communities. And then even some suggested communities and people to follow is being integrated within the Yammer interface. So that's it on Yammer. Forms, pretty quick update here as well. In fact, only one update really. And the update is you now can put your forms into collections. It's just a way for us to organize your multiple forms into unique classifications. It doesn't really come with any other additional functionality other than that. All right, Microsoft Viva. If you don't know what Microsoft Viva is, ping us and we can do some demos, whether it's insights, learnings, topics, or connections. But the few updates that you should be aware of, there's an official licensing suite for Microsoft Viva, where you can actually have a SKU and get all of Microsoft Viva in a single license SKU, where before you'd have to buy topics and learning separate. So Microsoft now has that available. On the insights front, team leads now have the ability to schedule team focus time. So I can grab my entire team and schedule focus time so we all have focus time at the same time. And then also on insights is we're keeping a history of the praise functionality. So before it was just kind of, it would throw into chats and there wasn't a history. That history is now being available to you. And for those that have been diving into Microsoft Viva topics, we can now, there's a built-in search capability to find additional files and pages to make references on your topic pages. Pretty slick tool where before we had to be very specific about the files that you're including within your Viva topics. All right, SharePoint updates. Really broke those down into two categories. The first is around content services, and this isn't really SharePoint. I'm cheating. So the Microsoft homepage, if you go to portal.office.com, there's updates there. Now the content is coming from SharePoint, so I stole it as my update. So there's changes to the portal homepage. You'll see here that you have my content. You can see recently opened items, items that are shared with you, browse by location, as well as different areas. So this is kind of a cool update provided by Microsoft. Microsoft is also rolling in the spell checker and grammar into SharePoint pages. So then that way you're getting that content. And then SharePoint pages are now rolling out with section templates. So if there's a consistency of a footer or an element on a page, you can save that as a template and utilize that template across multiple SharePoint pages. Around SharePoint collaboration, we now have taxonomy columns in SharePoint libraries and lists in the modern view. We can edit captions and transcripts for videos within SharePoint and OneDrive. Teams navigation, you can switch from a horizontal top nav to a vertical. That's a capability. Lists is going to show up in your SharePoint app bar on the left-hand side. Whether you think that's a good idea or not, we can debate. I think it's a bad idea. Moving on, board views within SharePoint lists. That's going to be a slick interface. And now you might ask yourselves, why use list boards versus planner? Well, that's a good question. So Microsoft providing you more options to do the same thing. And OneDrive and SharePoint document libraries. This is pretty slick. So this is a drop-down menu. And when you go to a SharePoint document library, you're going to get a drop-down to the right of the document library, and you can easily navigate to other libraries within the site. Now, one would argue that this is a great idea, unless, of course, there's a library that you don't want to promote. It's not going to get promoted in that dropdown. So it'll be an interesting update to see how this gets adopted. And then syntax is getting site templates, flow templates, and model templates, which is actually a major update for Microsoft. And I'm almost done. 2 OneDrive updates here, and we'll move on. So if you have not used or looked into cloud shortcuts, it's actually a really neat interface. This is available also within Teams, but the idea is you can have the Teams file tab and create a folder in there that actually points to other cloud solutions. That's called a cloud shortcut. We now have the ability to move those cloud shortcuts. Now, the question that I already know everyone's going to ask is, when you move that cloud shortcut, it's going to change permissions of the cloud or of the source. And the answer is no. It's not going to change any permission set. It'll just move the shortcut around. And then OneDrive is also rolling out some sync health reports on the admin side, so we can help manage some of those sync issues that we experience within the tenant.